Mark Drabwell, UEFA A licence diploma holder with SoccerShopWindow. I've reached a fairly high level in the coaching world, which ended up with working at Carrington with Sir Alex Ferguson, head coach of coach education for Nike UK. I've worked at Norwich, West Bromwich Albion, Tottenham Hotspur and Arsenal. I was the coach involved at the very start of the Nike Academy. I've got a book published called Play Football. I've done commercial work, TV shows, Footballers' Wives, technical director, head coach on the Cesc Fabregas show and head coach on Sir Alex Ferguson's Most Wanted tour. I'm head coach of the London FA currently, coach educator, qualified at levels 1, 2 and 3, UEFA B licence, emergency aid tutor, safeguarding children workshop tutor, futsal tutor, coaching disabled footballers tutor, and I've got a Cert Ed in child development and how children learn. First experiences as a young kid was really school, like most people. Played for school and then local youth team, and then developed into more senior football. My dad's very involved in football, always has been, very hard critic to be around as a kid, so that was interesting having him watch me play. Career-wise, I only ever played semi-professional, didn't get a pro contract, but that didn't stop me really going on to the top in the coaching world, so there's always a second chance for everyone. I was torn really between coaching and playing very early, because I took to coaching very quickly and very well, and my playing was kind of restricted to the level that we've just talked about as semi-professional clubs, and there was never going to be a career out of that, but there was a possibility of a career out of coaching. So kind of coaching and playing at the same time took over. Well, when I was 19 I went to America, I went to Denver, coached in Colorado for a couple of summers out there. That was my first real experience of it. And at that time the game in America was really in its infancy, so they thought I had some sort of a magic wand really. Anything you could teach was really accepted over there. So that was a good start point and a good experience really. Because they were so receptive, you had a chance to really develop yourself. Whereas here you work with different groups and some are more receptive than others, whereas in America my experience is they're very much coach driven, so whatever the coach says goes in America, and you wouldn't have so much parental influence, whereas here you've got a lot more of mum and dad saying this, this and this, whereas there it's like, well he's the coach, don't ask me. So it's a bit different really. Over here everyone's the coach on the side. And from there it kind of just blossomed on local clubs and eventually led to my first pro club, which was West Brom. That was through Bobby Gould, who was the manager at the time, who I knew. Got that break there at West Brom. Like most things, once your CV starts to build up, you become a bit more desirable to people. It's hard to get that first foot in the door. Same with a player really. It's getting the contacts and getting in the door that's sometimes the hardest thing. West Brom was only a part-time role, so I did that alongside my other coaching and stuff, so I didn't have to move there. And the same with Norwich as well. Norwich was at their training ground at Colney. They built that on the sale of Chris Sutton. That was built years ago, and that's a lovely place. And that was to the south of Norwich, so it was okay to get to from where I lived anyway. Well, West Bromwich Albion at that time were in Division 2, and Norwich were in the old Division 1 and playing Bayern Munich in the European Cup and stuff. So Norwich were a much bigger outfit at that time, and were really a club going places. And Norwich had a kind of different philosophy to any other club I've worked at, whereas they weren't really results driven with the youth section. So we was allowed to move players in different positions and experiment and try and develop the player rather than develop short-term results on a football pitch. We actually worked on players. Well, at Norwich again we had an input in really everything from education to the coaching side of it, to input on deciding who would be offered a contract, who would stay, who would go. And the interesting story at Norwich that maybe not everyone knows is that Chris Sutton, their record sale at the time, actually was released at 15 from Norwich and came back at 16 and got back in. So it just shows you that there's a big story there. Norwich really got away with releasing Chris Sutton and getting him back because there's not much competition up there. If that had been at a London club, you wouldn't have got him back. Someone else would have snapped him up. So moving on, the flip side of that is if you get released there and no one comes for you, you can disappear into the wilderness really. We had guys who lived local to us who were working at their satellite centres. They had a lot of satellite centres at the time, which is centres in different areas. They had Hertfordshire, they even had Ireland at the time, they had a centre in Ireland. They were all over the place. Newcastle, Manchester, all miles from Norwich. They had these centres everywhere, but they all kind of shut down, and the scouting network gets cut, and kind of what happens is the few that make it, and the ones that don't are left with nowhere to go really, and that happened to a few. It's just so individual really. If you've got a good support network behind you, you can maybe develop on and have another go and another go. Some people get, but a lot of people just get the one chance, get released, and they haven't got the support network behind them, and they just disappear from the game really. It's a quick spiral into semi-pro, into non-league, into playing for your mate's team, and you could have been at Arsenal or Tottenham for 8 years, and you could end up playing very quickly, and it has happened and still happening, you know, just dropping out of existence really. And that was when Norwich got relegated, and they cut the programme, which was a real shame. A lot of people had to move on, lack of funding. There wasn't the parachute in those days, the payment that they get for dropping out the Premiership now. So unfortunately the first thing that got cut was the youth section. But I moved on and worked part-time at Tottenham after that, which was another experience. Worked in the community there as well, which was good. And then from there moved on to LA Raiders Soccer Academy. We had a lot of boys who come along that had been at pro clubs and had been released for non-footballing reasons. So they were of a real interest to us if they'd been released for outside reasons, because we wanted to try and work on both sides of that, try and help them with their issue outside of the game that cost them the position within it, but also still develop them as players. So we did that. We worked with players. I think we ended up putting 3 or 4 back into league football, untold into semi-professional football, and of course we had a massive success with Lamana Lualua, who obviously went on to be sold for vast amounts of money and transfers and played at the highest level. So even just getting one player to that level would make the whole project worthwhile anyway. But there were lots of other stories. So it was a real success, and the shame that funding was pulled on that, and or else that would have still been going. And from there to Arsenal, where I focused mainly really on the women's section. I was first team coach of the ladies team, took the first team as manager for matches as well when Vic, who was the manager, was away with the men's first team, and really was Centre of Excellence Director for 6 years, so that was for all the girls from 10 through to 17. So I was in it from 2000 to 2006, and the development was unbelievable. I mean, I had some really talented players, and I really thought that at that stage that the female game was going to take off. My opinion, what I've seen on courses, what I've seen of matches on TV, is that it's plateaued out a bit, and the growth has kind of stopped. I don't know if the figures would maybe disprove that, but the quality, in my opinion, for sure, is not developing at the rate I thought it would. You know, I would suggest that maybe 5 or 6 years ago it peaked. The quality was outstanding. I had some really good players, and so did Vic in the first team, and Arsenal were dominating everything. I'm not sure that that's still the case now. I often said that the very first year I was at Arsenal, I was given the team, the under-16s, and I was basically given a winning team. I didn't have to do a lot with them, I had to manage them, I really didn't have to coach them. I couldn't take the credit for that, someone else had developed them. But obviously I then brought the next lot through. When the Pro League opened up again in America, that's the second time it was relaunched, and a lot of the best players did go, because there's just the opportunity here, even playing for the biggest club, Arsenal, you still need another job. So some of the girls would work for the club in admin positions, others had jobs outside, teachers, a couple of physios, and they needed to supplement their football earnings. And again with the academy girls, it was just awful. The ones that didn't get signed by Arsenal kind of wanted to stop playing, because they'd say to me, you know, well, where do we go now, what do we do? There was even worse than in the men's game, there's kind of nothing, it's either all or nothing. You're either going to play for Arsenal if you've been there since a kid, or what are you going to do?